welcome to episode 74 of the Morning You podcast. It's always a pleasure to be here with you again. So this week I had the opportunity to share on a blog post, So share an article. It's called the Sisterhood blog, and it was just such an eye-opener. The lady had mentioned, the person involved had mentioned that they were going to start this blog, and she reached out to a lot of us saying, if you want to share a blog on the post, and I thought, oh, why not? And so as I wrote my article this last week, I think as I wrote the article, it suddenly dawned on me that often we don't even realize what we carry within us. For a lot of people, this is the Morning You podcast, and we talk about, us birthing everything that God has put on the inside of us. But I find it's so easy to just not really to kind of discount what you carry within. And when I say what you carry within, I'm simply saying that God has equipped each one of us with so much. But sometimes we tend to just discount it, and sometimes we just tend to kind of put it on the, on the back burner and think, it doesn't really matter. I don't really bring that to the table. And so this episode is to encourage you. The title that I have this week is 4 Indicators that there is greatness within you. And really, I just want to remind you of, that there is greatness. And I want to remind you of the fact that there is greatness within you. And I'll tell you what that word, greatness, when you think of what it is, when you hear greatness, you think, oh, wow, that's something extraordinary. That's something huge. That's something big. Really, that's what it is. And that is what God has put within you and I. But when I talk about greatness, I'm going to just kind of break it down here. So when I say there is greatness within you, I want somebody to actually say it out loud, there is greatness within you. For some of us, because of where we're coming from, because of the background we might have grown up in, because of the teachers we might have had in the past, because of friends that might have told us otherwise, sometimes it's so easy to forget that there is greatness residing on the inside of us. And so one of the things that I love to do on this podcast, even with my guests, is to remind people of those things that we've been called to do, to remind people that, you're not just here as a number. You're not just on earth for this, in this season. There is a reason why you're here. There is so much you're carrying. There is so much the world is waiting on you to bring to the table. There is so much you have to offer. Yes, you listening to me, I'm saying to you, there is so much you have to offer. And so today I want to just share 4 indicators. And so as I wrote that blog post, one thing that really struck me is that what we carry within is something that somebody else wants. So I kind of started, and the first thing I want to share, the first indicator is your uniqueness. Isn't it interesting that God will create 7.5 billion people on the earth, and none of them would have the same fingerprint? And somebody might say, oh, that's really just a coincidence. No, maybe he just thought about it. But for me, I know God is very intentional about the way he does things. He's very intentional about the way he creates people. He's very intentional about the things that he does. And one of the ways that I know this is because when I think of how God created you and I, just like one of the books I just wrote called Masterpiece Not Mass Produced. That book, when I was writing it, what it reminded me of is I remember God reminding me that each one of us is a unique personality. And so the first thing I want to talk about today is your uniqueness. One of the indicators is your uniqueness. Some of us think, oh, why am I so different? Why am I not like this other person? There's 6 of us in the family. I'm just so different. I'm out of the place. I'm weird. Sometimes we see it as a bad thing. But I'm reminding you today that even your uniqueness is not a bad thing. Your uniqueness is the flavor you bring to the table. And I love to talk about that word, flavor. I know when I talk about the word flavor, I always see that a flavor of a thing is what introduces that thing. So when a flavor of a person, when I put in that context, introduces that person. So when you meet me, my flavor that I bring is the whole of me that I bring, my personality. So, some of us are extroverted, some of us are introverted, but whatever personality you have, guess what? Is always useful for the assignments that God is calling you to. That's what I found. And so we must always remember that greatness resides within us. when using even our personality. For some of us, we think our personality might be a bad thing. I've always shared the story how growing up, I used to talk a lot, and I thought, why am I talking a lot? Why do I like to talk? And I thought it was a bad thing, but guess what? As I grew older, I remember using Joyce Meyer as an example and saying, see, she talks just like you talk, but she has channeled her talking into speaking, and now she's channeled her talking into impacting the lives of others. And it made me see it from a whole different perspective. So for some of us, our personalities, we might look at it like, I'm extroverted, I'm so loud, I'm so brash, I'm so dominant. There is a reason why you were created that way. There is a purpose why. And all you need to do when I talk about our greatness here is that you need to begin to discover why you were created that way. For me, it was a search as I began to find out, God, what have you created me to do? What have you created me to do? What is my purpose? God began to remind me of that greatness on me, on the inside of me. He began to remind me of how my talking, how I like to talk, and what the purpose of the talking was. So your person, and I'm going to come to that. So your personality and your identity really is the first thing. So that makes you unique. That just makes you different. Like, I'll come back to the verse again. You are God's masterpiece. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. God says to us, you are my masterpiece. And I still, I always say this, I've said this over and over, even in the course of writing that book and sharing about that book, that God asked me, if you take two masterpieces to the auction table, will they command the same price? And I'm like, I don't know. And he said, no, they wouldn't, because they are both different. They are both unique. They're both special. They're both, they in their own right, they're different. He says it's almost like it's like a canvas when you paint it, because a masterpiece is really a beautiful, unique work of art. He says, so you can never get two work of art the same. Two of them will never be the same. You know why? I did it intentionally, because I want each one of you human beings to bring the flavor I have put on the inside of you to your world. So every time Mr. A steps into a place, I want people to know that it is Mr. A that steps into a place. I don't want it to be a carbon copy or a photocopy of Mr. B. I want them to see him the way I have created him. I want them to see him and everything I have put on inside of him. I don't want what I put on inside of him to be wasted. I want them to see everything I have created him for. I want them to see it in his life, and that was an eye-opener for me. So my first thing, again, is you have a unique personality and you have a unique identity in Christ. That's another big one. So personality and identity are part of your uniqueness. You're just different. He says, for you are God's masterpiece. You are his handiwork, which means God did not mass produce you like a producer would mass produce products. God took his time. The word of God says you were fearfully and wonderfully made. He took his time to create you. He took his time to form you. He took his time to, to put everything that he needed on the inside of you for a reason. So guess what? You have a unique personality. And that is the big indicator that there's greatness residing on the inside of you. So what I say is that no matter what might be going on in your life right now, no matter what things might look like, no matter how bleak things might look like, never forget that you have a unique personality. Never forget that there is uniqueness residing on the inside. There is greatness residing on the inside of you. The second thing I want to go to, and before I go to the second one, let me say this again about your uniqueness. When you come into Christ, it even gets sweeter, it gets better, because 1 Peter 2:9 says that he says that you are a royal priesthood, you are a holy nation. You are, I know one of the translations says that you are his chosen treasure. Whenever I look at that, I'm like, wow. So 1 Peter 2 says that, you know what? I am God's chosen treasure. I think it's TPT. It says you are God's chosen treasure. Other versions will say that you are a chosen generation, you're a royal priesthood, you're a holy nation, and you are called to do the works that he has called us to do right here. So guess what? You must never forget, don't let the situation that you might be in right now dictate the greatness, don't let the situation that you're in right now dictate how you bring forth the greatness within you. No matter where you are, remember you have greatness residing on the inside of you, and you can bring it to your world because your world is waiting. They want to put a demand on that greatness, but until we know you carry it within you, we cannot put a demand on it. The second thing I want to share, so P number 2, is you have a unique passion. You have a unique passion. And when I say you have a unique passion, I always look at it this way. If you put 10 of us in a room and ask 10 of us, what are you passionate about? We would never, most likely, we won't say the same thing. So people are passionate about, let me think of it. Like, I'm passionate about stirring up people to bring forth everything God has put on the inside of them. I'm passionate about making sure that they don't die with what they are carrying within them. I'm passionate about helping them unleash themselves from limitations. I'm passionate about stirring them up. I'm passionate about just saying, everything you have to bring it forth that you have within you. So people, they are passionate about seeing children, live lives free of abuse. Some people are passionate about young adults. Some people are passionate, we have different that we're passionate about. Some people are just passionate about praying for others, and they will do everything. That is what they're passionate about. So people, when they see a form of, some people are like, I always talk about this group called Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. Their own passion stemmed from a life experience. So they're thinking, I have gone through, I've had a teenager die, of abuse. A teenager die of a drug. I've had a teenager die of a drunk driver's fault. So somebody that was drunk maybe hit their child and the child died. And now they've started this course of Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. So that passion drives them to say nobody, nobody must drink and drive, and they do everything to put that word out there. Another thing that I'm passionate about is one thing that I'm also passionate about, I would say, is because I grew up with the love of reading. I love to read. I've always loved to write from when I was little. I've seen the power that books do in our lives. I've seen how books can transform you from, just your everyday setting, can just take you to a different world by you just, visualizing it, by you just reading. You can travel by just reading people's books. You can learn I've seen the power of books. So for me, I'm so passionate about, for example, my foundation, I'm passionate about getting books into the hands of children that may never go to a proper library. So that's one of the dreams of my heart, saying, I want to go into places like rural areas and create libraries in those places. Make sure they have books so that it takes them beyond their current setting, take them into times whereby they can think, I can actually live a life outside. I can live a life outside just what my present life talks about. So that is one of the things that I'm passionate about. So your passion is one of the indicators that you have greatness residing on the inside of you. Because when you're passionate about something, guess what happens? You would want to put everything into it. You want to do everything regarding it. It makes such a difference. Another thing that I want to share about P number 3 is you have unique potentials. So you have a unique you have a unique personality, you have a unique passion, you have a unique personality, you have unique potentials. That's another thing. So you have unique potentials. And when I say you have unique potentials, I'm saying that somebody needs what you have. I found that sometimes, like I mentioned, discounting what we have. Sometimes what we are thinking, there's no big deal about this. Oh, I know how to do this. This is not a big deal. To somebody else, they're thinking, who knows how to do that and they can help me. So I found that each one of us has been gifted with unique abilities. Each one of us has been gifted with unique gifts. Each one of us has been gifted with unique potentials, whereby we can take those potentials to our world and we can use it to bless somebody else. We can take it to our world. We can say, you know what, you don't know how to do that, but I know how to do it. I can bring it to you. We can bring that value to the table. And for some people, sometimes the difference even between us, how would I put it? The difference between us bringing value and not bringing value is knowing that we even carry value. So people don't even believe that they carry value within them. So today, this is a reminder to say, you have unique potentials within you. A good example is my writer's book. I mentioned I used to write from when I was like 8, 9 till now. I still love to write. And so I remember when I got dropped the idea to start the writer's book camp, I was thinking, who's going to join? Does anybody really need this? Do I need to share this with anybody? Because writing, I love to write. Writing, I would almost say, comes easy to me. I can just sit there and just write and write and write. But I found out really when I started that writer's boot camp that There were people that I could actually help just by giving them tips on how to write, on how to start the journey, on what do they do when they, when they come across a challenge, when it looks like they can't move past a particular spot, what can they do? And that was when I realized that really it was value that was carried that I might not even have really known. But the more I do my writer's bootcamp, the more I'm learning that there are so many people that need that value. And the same way often comes when you look at a lot of things that people know how to do. I guess because often we know how to do those things effortlessly a lot of times. So we often think we know how to do effortlessly. So it should be easy for somebody else as well to do it effortlessly. I've seen that a lot. So sometimes we're thinking, oh, there's no big deal. So some people, when they cook up a store and they're so good at it. But the thing, everybody should know how to cook the way others cook is a normal thing. Not knowing that sometimes there's a grace upon something that you know how to do. And you bringing that value to the table, you bringing those unique, those unique potentials and beginning to use it to help other people, beginning to use it to add value to other people makes a whole lot of difference. And so you're thinking about your unique personality, we're talking about your unique passion, we're talking about your unique potentials. And I'm going to go to the next one, which is your unique purpose. The second indicator is your unique passion. The third indicator is your unique potential. The fourth indicator that you have greatness on the inside of you is your unique purpose. And that one might be one that, for a lot of people, they don't even think of finding out what it is. For a lot of people, a lot of us, just like I was, we find out, let's just do life. We're just doing that. We're going to work. We're coming back. Coming back home. And it goes on and on and on and on. Same thing. But I found out that when you sometimes pause, and there has to come a time where you pause and you say, could there be more to life than where I am right now? Could there be a unique purpose on my life? Could there be an assignment on my life? Could there be something that God is calling me to? Because I found that for every one of us, there is a specific assignment. And often, life is like a puzzle whereby we're waiting for you to find out your part in the puzzle and fit yourself. That's how one of my coaches often describes it. We're waiting for you to find your place in the sport and fit yourself into it. But if you never even find out what your sport is, how do you fit yourself to that sport? And so this is a reminder to you that each one of us has a unique purpose for our lives. And every time I look at that, I think about some of the people that I've been able to impact. Glory to God, I've been able to impact. And I think, what if I had never stepped into that specific purpose, that thing that God was calling me to do? What if I had said, oh, it doesn't really matter, I don't need to do it, I don't need to find it out? I would have stopped some people from stepping into their own purpose. And that's another dangerous thing, because sometimes God is calling you to a specific purpose so you can help other people step into their own place of purpose. And if you don't step into what God is calling you to, that specific assignment, then others might not step into the assignment. And there's going to come a day, that you and I are going to give an account of everything that we've been given. Is it your unique personality, your unique passion, your unique potentials, which are your gifts, your ability, your skills, your talent that you think nobody needs? Somebody is waiting for this and somebody needs them. And your unique purpose that you might be thinking, really, is there really a specific assignment? Because you would find that the tools that are your potentials are tools for that purpose. Everything God has called you to do, He has equipped you to be able to do. So when I say there's greatness residing on the inside of you, what I'm saying is that all those P's are related. So your personality is related to your passion. That's why sometimes when you see some things, you get upset, you get angry because you don't want to see those things. You see children that are going to school, they don't have shoes. You're thinking, how best can I solve this situation? Because that's one of the things that God is stirring you up to do, because He knows that you're passionate about it. Now He begins to put you in a place. He's calling you, okay, can you begin to do this? This is what, and when you begin to do it, guess what? You'll find that you will thrive in that. So it's now up to you and I to begin to say, those 4 P's, they're all tied together. How can I look at what my unique personality is? How can I make the best use of it? How can I look at it? Am I functioning in the best of my personality? Am I actually maximizing it? Am I using, my passion, those things that I'm passionate about? So that some of us don't even know what I'm passionate about. You might have to just pick a pen and a piece of paper and write it down. Maybe 4 things we're passionate about, 5 things we're passionate about. And then I found as you begin to write it, you will notice that some of the gifts that God has put on the inside of you, some of the things that you love to do, like I mentioned mine, which was writing, writing and talking, I would say back in the day, which has now metamorphosized to writing, speaking, coaching, training. So you see, those things now align with my purpose, which is to help, others bring forth everything on the inside of them, help them discover their own purpose and maximize the more that they have within them. But if I don't step into mine, how do I help others? And so I want to encourage you, even as you hear this in details, don't just listen to this podcast and put this aside. It might be a way that you need to just, sit down, look back on those. Let me look at my personality. How can I use my personality to be a blessing to somebody else? How can I use my personality to impact other people's lives? How can my personality impact, in my workplace, at school, at work? And what these 4 P's do is that they help you to shine your light in your sphere of influence. And so every time you embrace your 4 P's, every time you embrace your greatness, which I call your greatness, every time you embrace the greatness you have within you, guess what? You are bringing it forth to your world. You are bringing forth impact. You are bringing forth, you are influencing your world. You are bringing it forth. You are helping someone. You are adding value to someone. And the value, guess what, now comes back onto you. So you might need to look and say, oh, my personality, my passion, those things I'm passionate about, what am I doing about them? Because now we're passionate that we just write them down or we just think about them. But am I doing anything? Can I do anything about the things that I'm passionate about? Can I do anything about bringing, just helping somebody in that area? Can I do anything about it? And then the potentials I have, the gifts God has put on inside of me, what am I doing with them? Am I making use of them? Are they blessing anybody? Are they blessing anybody's lives? Or they're just sitting there dormant? Because as I go, I remind you of the parable of the talents. There's a parable called the parable of the talents where the master was going on a journey and he left, he gave one servant 5 talents. He gave another 2 and he gave another 1. The 5 went ahead to multiply what he had. The 2 went ahead to multiply what he had. But the 1 decided that he was not going to do anything with what he had been given. So what did he do? He buried it. And when the master came back, guess what happened to the 1 with 1? Even that 1 that he had was taken away from him. May that not be you. And that is a call to look at those 4 P's, to look at that greatness that has been lying, maybe it's been lying dormant. It might be a time that you need to do what? You need to begin to say, okay, what am I going to do with this greatness that I have within me? Because this greatness is for my world. This greatness is to be a blessing to me and to be a blessing to other people as well. Before I go, I want to remind you, some of you might just listen to this on audio podcast. I want to remind that we also have this on video podcast. So if you go to my YouTube channel, Ololabode, the Purpose Video, you'll be able to watch the video podcast as well. And even as you listen, please don't forget to share it with other people, a friend or 2 that it would bless. Remember to, review it, rate it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. That is an encouragement to me, so I keep on recording videos. And I'm thinking, okay, somebody even getting blessed with this. When you subscribe, when you like it, when you review, when you rate it, it gives me, that boost to say, okay, you know what, people are getting blessed. I want to keep doing this. And I'll see you next week on another episode. Have a phenomenal week.